You've been hearing that you need a degree to get a coding job in 2023. In this video, I'm going to compare a degree in CS versus doing a bootcamp. I've done both. I'll show you the pros and cons of each, and I'll give you a rating out of 5 factors that'll help you decide what you should do in 2023. So this video is specifically for learning to code and then using that skill to land a job. This has nothing to do with any of the external factors of what you get with a degree, of like meeting people, having the time of your life, meeting friends for life. None of that. Specifically for learning to code, how effective each method is of getting good at coding. Here are the 5 factors I'm going to be talking about. So I'm going to rate each factor out of 10 for degree and a bootcamp. At the end, they're going to have an overall score out of 50. So for degree, I've done a computer science degree here in the UK at the University of Reading. I graduated in 2020, and then this year I've done a web development bootcamp with Root Learn, and I'm just going to compare my experiences with both. So the first factor we're going to talk about is accountability. In a degree, you have lectures, you have seminars of where lecturers are teaching you on a certain topic. So some unis have a mandatory requirement for you to attend, so there's accountability there. Others you don't have to. I didn't really have to attend any of them. You could watch it online, but also they do have like homework for you guys to do. You have projects you need to submit, you have deadlines, so accountability is quite high there. So for a degree, I'm going to give this 8 out of 10 for accountability. I did a part-time bootcamp, so I had 3 lessons a week, Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday morning. It was good because each session was building on the last. The bootcamp was split into 3 sections. At the end of each section, you build a project. Also, you had homework to do each week, and if you didn't do this homework, you'd feel left behind. Also, you had a teacher there with you and other students. You'd have to turn up to get the learning. They do record the sessions, so if you miss a session, you can look at that. I tried to only use the recordings to look over something that I thought was quite hard and I didn't quite grasp in the lesson. So I'd say bootcamp rating of 7 for accountability. Next thing we have is focus. And what I mean by this is dedicated time for coding, and like the curriculum itself is focused on coding. So obviously with a degree, you learn all sorts. It's very vague, obviously in the realm of computer science. That could be anything. Like in my degree, we did loads and loads of theory work, which I thought was so boring. There was loads of stuff about the ins and outs of like an OS, compilers, and with that, because you were learning so many different things of different modules, my particular degree wasn't focused on just learning to code, which is fair enough because you need to get a good foundation of CS before tackling harder stuff. But if I was running my own degree program, I'd do like 70% coding and then 30% theory, whereas mine was like 80% theory, 20% coding. There was loads of periods of time where I just wouldn't code because I didn't have modules that required coding, which I thought was really weird considering I was doing a CS degree. So I'd go like a week, 2 weeks without coding, and then I'd always pick it up, starting over again every single time. So I hated that because I always thought I sucked at coding at the time, but I just wasn't putting the hours in because I just didn't have to at the time. So for a degree, I'm going to give a rating a 6 out of 10, purely because you learn so much that is not relevant to learning how to code. I've forgotten so many things that I learned in the past that I thought I knew really, really well, but it's gone. So focus for a bootcamp. It's obviously going to be quite high. You've paid for like a 6th month or a 3 month if you're doing full time of just pure learning how to code. The curriculum is set out for you. This is what you're going to learn, bim bam bomb. I highly value the focus that a bootcamp gives you because you can literally go from a beginner to a pretty decent level in like a matter of couple of months. So purely on like focusing really well on how to learn to code, the bootcamp's going to score high. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, next category we have applicable to real world scenarios. What I mean by this is what you learn, how can you apply it to a real world software engineering job. So with a degree, obviously you can have group projects, which is literally your exact work you're going to do in your software engineering job. You're going to be in a team working on tickets together, so that aspect of it is good. And then there's a lot of deadlines in the university, so there's pressure there to put your work in on time. You could apply that to a job. Say if a ticket needs to be done within a week, you're going to do it. And obviously with these projects, you're going to be working, say, on a code base together, and obviously you're going to be dealing with each commit and all the git merges and the conflicts. You're going to have to deal with that, which is really applicable to a job. Obviously, again, you learn a load of stuff that's just not relevant to a job. Like I learned the ins and outs of what a processor was and what a CPU and like what RAM was, like as if I need to know that to get a software engineering job. So I'd say applicable for a degree, I'd say a good 7.5 out of 10. Bootcamp, I don't think I need to spend a lot of time for applicable to real world. The only thing I'd say is a downside is the projects you build in a bootcamp, they're very small. When you go into real job, the code bases tend to be huge. So what you're doing in a real job is like you're picking out to making small changes on a massive thing, which is a skill in itself. I'm still trying to get better at it. Whereas side projects and bootcamp projects, you're building it from scratch, which is still a skill in itself, and then building a fully fledged product. Everything you learn in a bootcamp is applicable to a software engineering job. It's perfect. It's very focused. So this is going to get a high mark of say 9 out of 10. Now next one, juicy one, price. So here in the UK, student debt isn't as bad as in the US. It gets wiped after 30 years if you don't pay it by then. Also, it's automatically taken out your paycheck every month. It's like, I don't know what percentage it is, but you also have to earn a threshold, which is really good. So the prices here are slightly, it's still ridiculously expensive, but it's not a burden on your life. It won't bankrupt you. So I think in total my tuition was 30,000 for the 3 years, which is crazy, and it works out, I think I pay like £150 per month ish. If you think about it, it did get me my job because my first job out of uni was a grad scheme and I needed a degree to get a job, and I got a maintenance loan with that, so it's money to live off, but just try and be sensible with it. Price here, I'm going to give a 4 out of 10 because it was really good, but it's obviously a lot of money. And then price for a bootcamp. So bootcamps for some reason have a massive price tag. They usually charge about 6 to 10k for a 3-month focused one, but I just did a part-time one with RootLearn, which is it's like a non-profit. They only charge for the labour. They just do it for the love of coding. So mine was only about £800, which I thought was really, really good and well worth the money. I'd highly recommend any of you try it out. So for this, 8 out of 10. The last section of the video, I'm going to talk about a niche one, but confidence in your skill to code. Because a lot of the time I feel very insecure. I feel like imposter syndrome, like I'm not good enough. My coding skills aren't good enough for me to get this job. Scrap that mindset. It's such a negative mindset. You just don't need that in your life. Confidence. So degree, I'd argue very poor from my particular university. At the end of university in the final year, you do a project, dissertation of some sort. You could build your own software, like a solution to a certain problem. I just revamped the current system of how universities pick their final projects. So I built a fully fledged project and I coded it all myself. I used loads of YouTube tutorials and stuff like that. I used PHP. Like, why the heck did I do that? It's not useful in real world scenarios. No one ever uses PHP nowadays. So I've obviously forgotten all of that. My first year we did C and C++. I was so bad at that. I didn't get it, I didn't grasp it. It was really frustrating. I don't know if it was the way they taught it, but I was getting really frustrated with this stuff, and I still get frustrated all the time with coding, but a lot less now. I'd say with the degree, my confidence to code. Bearing in mind, I didn't know how to code at all before university, and it did slowly get better. I'd say I'd give a 6 out of 10. And then a bootcamp. Now, for some reason, I thought I was I thought I was a pro. Genuinely, there were some weeks in that bootcamp. It's really hard. It's really intense. What you learn and the projects you need to build. At the start, looking at what I achieved now, wow, I would not have believed it. See loads of time where you just don't grasp it. You can look over the recording or you can ask your teacher and they'll try and explain it again. I had a good level of coding before going into the bootcamp, but yeah, my confidence skyrocketed. You practice problems every single week. You build projects. You're learning the technologies that companies use. It's just all around brilliant. So for a bootcamp in terms of confidence to code, 8 out of 10. I'll sum up each one here. So I think degree got about 31.5 out of 10, and then a bootcamp got 40 out of 50. There we go, guys. I hope that helps. I hope this is relevant for you guys to learn if you want to take a bootcamp route or the degree route. I'd argue if I had to start over, I'd definitely do a bootcamp, because also it's a lot more cost effective, because you could do it and you could learn that you just don't like coding. Why would you spend 30 grand to do something that you don't even know if you like? So that's the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed, hope it's helpful. See ya.